So we build these worlds, right? It's one of the main reasons you became a dungeon master. You wanted to invent stuff. World building is one of the great joys of being a dungeon master, and it lets you be your own J.R.R. Tolkien, where you can have real strong opinions about elves or whatever. You put all those ideas into your Silmarillion, but your players mostly want to kill monsters, play their characters, not read your tome. Well, if the players won't come to the lore, we gotta bring the lore to the players. Hey everybody, Matt Colville here, and we're gonna talk about making it easy, and maybe even better than easy, for your players to learn about your lore. And we've covered this before. I make a distinction between lore and writing. Writing has drama, it has tension, it has characters in conflict. Sometimes the conflict is internal. Lore is just details. The Lord of the Rings is drama. The Silmarillion is lore. You know, your adventure probably has a villain, and the heroes come into conflict with the villain, and this is called a plot, and it is full of tension and reversals, and this is writing. It's also adventure design. But the history of your world is, well, it's history, and learning your world's history is probably not high on the list of things that get your players excited, and that's why you need to chase them up a tree, which is to say, you need to put your players in a situation where they urgently need to understand your lore in order to progress in the adventure. That's 2 points. The lore must be required to progress, but it must also be urgent, like life-threatening. Did a whole video on this, which I strongly urge you to watch. The point of that video was, if our players aren't engaging, it's because we haven't given them good reasons to engage. And my world is cool is not a good reason. But there's a whole other leg to this table that we need to talk about, and that is how. Let's imagine the players are motivated to learn about your world. They know what answers they need. Who is the hidden god the villain serves, or what is this artifact that resists all our attempts to identify it? Where is the lost city of Tanis, and what does this mysterious amulet say about it? There is some cool bit of world building you created, and the players want to learn its secrets. Good job, awesome. But how do they do that? Well, when I was growing up in the hobby, it was understood that there were always sages around here somewhere. Wizards, priests, druids, depending on the flavor of the lore in question. And if the players want to know something, all they have to do is find the sage. Usually pretty easy, but knowledge has a price. You want an answer? You need to do the sage a favor. And this meant an adventure, and this is called playing D&D. But I think modern players are not used to a game primarily driven by their own agency and ambition. If you tell a modern player that answer exists, you just need to find a sage or a scholar, they're just not going to do that. It's too much friction. They're going to try and solve the problem without the answer. Brute force it, in other words. If you've gotten your players to the point where they feel like they need an answer to some lore question, well, congratulations. You're doing a good job so far. But the next step is making it easy for them to get the answer. It may seem cheap to make it easy to get answers, but remember, the goal here is to just make your cool world building relevant. The adventure should be hard. Just getting the answer to a question, it's okay to make that easy. And if this idea, make it easy for your players to learn your lore, sounds radical, well, it's radical to me. Like I said, I always assumed in every D&D game that the heroes can do literally anything. They can kill a god, become a god, conquer the world, anything. It's a fantasy game. They are the main characters. All they need to do is figure out how. But I always assumed that figuring out how should be hard, that knowledge should be earned. Nah, doing it should be hard. Figuring out how to do it can be easy. And I think sometimes it needs to be easy, otherwise your players will never bother. So that represents a major shift in my thinking. Make it easy for your players to learn about your world. Make it easy for them to get answers to obscure questions. I still think I have it in me to run a more old school game where just getting information is a quest unto itself. But for now, I want to make it easy for my players to learn about the world. I've tried it twice so far. It failed the first time, but it worked really well the second time, and that's what we're going to talk about. The first time I tried making it easy for the players to learn about my world, it was the Chain of Acheron, which you may have seen. The Chain are a centuries-old mercenary company with a remarkably strong resemblance to a certain black company. One of the cool things about the Black Company is the annals, the history of the entire company, every battle they fought, every country they've been to, every world they've traveled to. In fact, the annals are so extensive that the original volumes are written in languages no one speaks anymore. This makes them so valuable as a source of lore about the world that a recurring theme of the books is recovering the annals anytime something happens to them. You can see where we're going with this. In the books, anytime the Black Company need to know something, they consult the annals. It's not just full of lore. It has advice on everything. How to win battles, how to lead, how to resolve conflicts in the company. So I thought, hey, this is a good idea. Give the chain its own annals, the Chronicles of the Chain of Acheron. Same as the annals, they're a record of every battle the chain fought, every place they've been to. Any question you got, the Chronicle probably has the answer, or at least a clue to follow. Well, for some reason, that didn't work. And I think I know why. I think the basic fantasy just wasn't that appealing. Checking the annals for these players, I think maybe it felt like homework. Sitting down and poring over this book, looking for answers. Mostly the players never even thought about it, even when I reminded them of it. Maybe the problem was I made it easy to get the answer, but not fun. Remember, this is a game. If you have a choice between easy but boring versus hard but fun, the players will pick the fun option. Now, anytime I point out some failing of mine, people come out of the woodwork trying to tell me that it's my players' fault, and right now you may be thinking, no, the Chronicle is a good idea. Your players are just ... Let me stop you. It's not the player's job to play the game my way, or even your way. All they want to do is have fun. And yes, the DM is also a player. We also need to have fun. But blaming the players for not playing right is never the right answer, in my experience. And it's very close to blaming the victim. Now, the players did use the Chronicle once to great effect. When they found the rod of Count Rodar von Glauer in Ringwell, they had to say a passphrase to turn off Ringwell's defenses so they could grab the rod without setting off alarms and summoning monsters. And I think I explicitly told them to check the Chronicle. I mean, the episode is online. You can go check. But I don't think it was their idea. That's the whole problem. They never really checked the Chronicle. So I built this idea into my prep. I created the idea of this passphrase on purpose to try to get the players used to checking the Chronicle. Ideally, once they saw how useful it was, they would start checking the Chronicle for answers all on their own. Because I built this into the adventure, I had a little pre-written chunk of the Chronicle ready to read out, and I think the players really got a kick out of that, of hearing the voice of a long-dead chronicler of the Chain of Acheron. Now, this is pretty close to the point where we stopped playing, so maybe this would have worked. Maybe if we had kept playing, they would check the Chronicle more often. We'll see what happens if we play again. But let's compare this to the second time I tried this idea out, and it was a big hit. I had the same problem in my recent 4th edition campaign, Dusk, which you can watch right here on this channel. There was a lot of background info, lore, that the players were curious about, but they had no facility to get answers. Well, I don't know what made me think of this, but I was reminded of one of the best episodes of the classic 1960s sci-fi anthology series, The Outer Limits. If you don't know what The Outer Limits is, it's like the science fiction version of The Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone is more about this wistful longing for an earlier, simpler age, very Ray Bradbury stuff, which is cool, but The Outer Limits is real nerd shit, real sci-fi nonsense. And in the second season, you get this very cool episode, very film noir, shot in one of the classic LA film noir locations, same place they shot big chunks of Blade Runner. And in this episode, we meet our hero, a guy with no memory. He doesn't remember anything before like a week ago, and he's being hunted by aliens in LA. The whole episode happens in one evening, almost in real time. There's a short narration in which the main character describes his predicament, and we almost immediately discover how he learns about the lore of this world. You see, he's got this... Actually, let's just watch it.
I was born 10 days ago. A full-grown man born 10 days ago. I woke on a street of this city. I don't know who I am or where I've been or where I'm going. Someone wiped my memories clean. And they tracked me down and tried to kill me. Why? Who are you? I ran. I managed to escape them the first time. Then the hand, my hand, told me what to do.
What can I do? Who are they?
Programming data insufficient on question 2. Who are they? Random collation of possibilities. Question 1. What can I do? In order of factors of success are as follows. A. Each pursuer wears a gold medallion. Remove these medallions. B. The time mirror permits only 2 travelers at one time, but they are replenishable. If possible, destroy the mirror. C. Stay alive. Above all, stay alive. Destiny is in your whole hand. D. I am incomplete. I can serve you better if I am complete.
Wow, I mean, that is one hell of an opening. But as cool as it is, you see why we watched it, right? He's got his own Chronicle of the Chain, but it talks to him. It is literally a character, which means it's a lot more fun to interact with. Now, you noticed his hand is missing several digits, and it literally says, I am incomplete. I can serve you better if I am complete. And it may not be obvious why the author did this, but it's because he's trying to gate information. Yeah, the crystal hand is super cool and it knows a lot, but it doesn't know everything. That's important. If it knew everything, then the hero could jump straight to the end of the story. Plus, imagine the writer as a dungeon master. He knows his player is going to use this thing to ask a lot of questions he doesn't have the answers to. So, I am incomplete. I can serve you better if I am complete. In other words, shit, man, I don't know. I just work here. I need time to invent answers to these questions. So tell you what, you go find my missing fingers and then I'll know the answer, right? Each finger is like a different memory chip. Makes total sense. And if they ask you something you don't want them to know yet, or something you don't have an answer for, you just make a note and say, I am incomplete. I could serve you. You get it. You get the idea. Then the players feel motivated to find the missing digits, and you can put them anywhere you want the players to go. The players were very interested in the Temple of Primordial Chaos on the map of the local area, but they were busy and couldn't take a long detour. Eventually, they got the idea to just ask their glass hand where its missing digits were, and it pointed to the closest one, which just happened to be in the direction of the Temple of Primordial Chaos, and now they know what their next quest is, if that's what they want to do. How my players got a glass hand is just a detail. Your glass hand might be a talking ring, or an amulet, or a mechanical hawk, or something, a construct, like the Harlequin in my novels. But in my case, yeah, it was a glass hand, or rather a ruby arm. I originally had this idea that one of the heroes might get pulled into another world, the world of Equinox, also known as Dusk, the home of the Shadow Elves, and they'd get their own solo adventure there. I had no idea which character it would be. I didn't want to know. I wanted it to be emergent. But as we played, I realized it really needed to be Dale, because she was the most interested in the lore. And she's an elf, and Equinox is an elf world. So she ended up getting sucked into Equinox, and she had a whole solo adventure, which you can watch here. And one of the rewards was her right arm transformed into an arm made of living ruby crystal. Missing fingers, just like the glass hand. It's a magic item. It grants bonuses in combat and can do some other cool stuff that she hasn't unlocked yet. But now she has her own lore delivery system she can talk to anytime she's curious about something. I mean, within reason. It's not omniscient. And there's always the missing digits in case she asks something it would know, but which I don't know. At the dramatically appropriate moment, submerged in this alien manifold, Lavellis asks her ruby arm, "Where am I? What is this place?" And we get this amazing moment with audio effects from Jerry.
Manifold 9, Equinox, the Twilight World, the Shadow Realm, also known as Dusk. Ruled by the shadow over two lovers' hearts, the Queen of Shadows, third of the three sisters below. Equinox is the home of the Twilight Celestials, also known as the Shadow Elves, the Dusk Elves. Equinox has a chronographic index of 7.73 relative to Manifold 1. Because of the covariant metric tensor, Equinox waxes and wanes, growing in strength as its partition of unity approaches 1, relative to Manifold 1. For the last 7,000 cycles, Manifold 9's greatest constructive interference was with Manifold 11. But now the power of Dusk wanes, relative to the world below, and waxes, relative to Manifold 1. Manifold 9 is a parasitic manifold. Because its metric tensor is less than 1, it cannot exist except as an index to another manifold. Because Manifold 1's index constructively interferes with Manifold 9, the rulers of Dusk seek to use this concordance to bridge the sea between worlds, first terraforming, then colonizing Manifold 1.
I knew it. I definitely didn't know all of that. But the colonization, I feel like I knew it.
That was super cool. This is also an example of what I mean when I say I prefer a game where your character's growing power and abilities are a result of the things that you do during the adventure, not the choices that you make between adventures when you level up. Every time Dale asks Remainer a question, she's going to remember her solo adventure and her journey to Equinox. So that's the lesson, folks. Consider making it easy and fun for your players to get the answers to their questions. You don't need a glass hand to do this, although obviously if your players didn't watch Dusk or The Outer Limits, or this video, go ahead and rip that off. But what if your lore delivery system was a set of tuning forks? There are 12 of them in the set, one for each step on the chromatic scale, but the players only find 3 of them. If you ask a question and strike one of the tuning forks, you can hear a voice in the vibrating tone. If they ask something you don't know or don't want to reveal yet, they gotta find the other tuning forks. Your lore delivery system might be a coin that you flip and ask a question and get a yes or no answer. That's not as robust as something that speaks. It wouldn't have a personality, but maybe instead of heads or tails, the monarch on the coin changes expression based on your answer. Like, or. I literally just made these ideas up. It should be fun for you, the DM, to think this stuff up. You should smile and cackle when you get a good idea for your lore delivery system. Just remember, you need enough bandwidth to answer their questions and make it fun. Then I guarantee you, your players will start to care about your lore because you made it fun. That's it, folks. Thanks for watching. If you want to talk about this video with other like-minded folks, come by our Discord, link in the doobly-doo. If you want to support this channel, we got a ton of dope minis on our website. Like, for instance, you can now get the original Gemstone Dragons from 2018. These are not new. They're not reprints. We just made up a lot more of these than we needed, and we spent the last 4 years paying to store them in a warehouse, and that is stupid, so now they're on the website. Get them before they sell out. And we strongly encourage you to come by our Patreon and check out Arcadia. Typically amazing cover from Brett Bouillon. I don't know if that's how you pronounce your last name, Brett, but I did my best. This looks like it could be something out of my first novel. Arcadia is the best, I think I can say this, it is the best monthly 5th edition PDF, full color art all the way through, 3 articles every month, new stuff for players, new stuff for DMs. This month we got a new fighter subclass, the Shield Bearer, that is, well, pretty much what you'd guess. They specialize in shield combat, which I think many players will want to check out. We got a bunch of new NPCs for DMs looking for allies for their party, and a new organization of scribes that I don't want to spoil for you. Check it out on the Patreon, links below. That's it, folks. Until next time, peace out.